her in your thoughts. We go busy lives, but she'll be sitting there wishing she was with you. You just remember her every day.
I was just going to say, I happen to believe that even though a person dies, they live on through the people who stay behind. And I had the great pleasure of knowing him throughout our marriage, which is over 40 years. And I think I saw him as an incredibly successful, powerful man, yet amazingly humble. And, you know, even this funeral today, in many ways, it was so deserving, he was so courageous, but I could have seen Dad being buried in a box. And that was for Dad, too. And I kind of, the joke of the weekend, you should hear this, Yvonne, because it's Dad's fault, in a way. This value of simplicity, to say, not putting on pretensions or anything like that. Robin called and said, it's going to rain, it's going to be windy, and I had to run out and get a raincoat. Now, something you said made me think, my husband, the apple from this tree, said, oh, don't go buy a raincoat, just put a black garbage bag. And I said, you know what? Your father would have been happy doing that. I bet. He had times where he did that. And I am now married to a man with those same values. But I didn't do it, Yvonne. I want you to know. I decided not to do that. I bought the raincoat. But where did that come from? I mean, this is the point. Right, Claudia?
Exactly.
This is somebody, and Solomon said it so, he was so bright, so, he was so health conscious. I found that amazing. He was really, as a result, I think, his one son at least used to sneak a lot of candy because I learned that when they were growing up, they only ate dried fruits and things like that. I mean, he was the original health nut out there. But what a great role model for all of us. So I'm just very grateful, and I think that he lives on all of you. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
According to the AVRP, the American Vietnamese Reconciliation Program, what we've been trying to do is kind of heal the wounds of the Vietnam era. Now we're able to refuel the fleet there, and we have a trade and military agreement with them. I got a call from a really big-time Vietnamese spy, a master spy from Vietnam, from Hanoi the other night, talking about this stuff. And he said, oh, you're going to Washington? I said, yeah. He says, what for? I said, I'm going to the funeral of James O. Cobb. James O. Cobb? Yeah, you know him? So he knew who he was, even though he was hanging off the coast, you know. And he knew who he was. They were very much aware, and they had a tremendous amount of respect for him. The Vietnamese also had spies every place. They still have spies every place. But apparently the story is, and maybe true or not, but Lyndon Johnson wanted to nuke North Vietnam, and Jim didn't think that was a real good idea. So he was a great warrior, and he would kill the hell out of you if he had to. But at the same time, he was a really compassionate human being that knew that what good would that do if it escalated it would. So what I'm saying is he was kind of a prince of peace, but he was also a god of war. And you guys get to see him as his family, but I'll tell you something, Charlie knows exactly who he is.
I actually had the pleasure to meet him only about 5 years ago. I'm Sally Ann's husband, so Sally Ann is Michael's daughter. And actually we were up in Maine, and he had come up to visit. And I remember he arrived, and he was talking about how he wished he could have flown up there himself. And I was put in the same room. He and I were bunkmates. So it was a small little Maine lobster shack. And upstairs we had to climb up these rickety steps and almost kind of shimmy up a ladder and when you were up in our room. And he slept right next to me here, and I was right next to him there. And you know, we just started talking, and it was amazing to hear some of the stories that he had to tell, and I was immediately just taken by his knowledge and his charisma, and it was so fun and exciting to hear all that he had to say. But then he started sort of setting his little bunk up area, and he put lined his shoes along the bed, and made sure all his stuff was really nice and neat at the end of the bed. And here I am, I'm coming from a different generation, and my stuff's all over the place. And I'll never forget it, he got up I think at like 4 in the morning, he started doing jumping jacks in the bed. I said, this guy is 65 years older than me, and I couldn't even get out of bed. So he's been an inspiration to me and to our children who were fortunate enough, both of them, to meet him, and he will continue to be an inspiration. I tell my grandfather all the great stories about him at Pearl Harbor, and about him running the Marine Corps Marathon at the age of 70-something, and he's just a real inspirational person, and he's, in the short while that I've known him, he has had a very special place in my heart, and I hope to continue to make that memory live in my children, and remind them of who he was and what he did, and I want to thank him, and just know that we'll always be thinking of him, and God bless him.
I am Martina Cobb. I am married to Michael, one of Brandon's grandsons. And I just want to very briefly touch upon a part of his life that hasn't been spoken today, which is, many of you know that he spent a few years in my country, I believe up to 3 years in Spain, where I come from. And I want to, in a way, I'm thankful for him, not just for family reasons, but also for country reasons, because when he came to Spain, it was that was the 50s, which it was about 30 years after the Spanish Civil War, when the country was completely closed to any kind of international intervention. But that was the first time that a foreign country came into mind after so many years of closure and very dark times, actually, for the history of my country. So he came in with serving his country, serving the U.S. Navy, and bringing a little bit of light and a little bit of fresh air to my country after those years. So for that, I am grateful to Remembrances.
Oh, thank you. Mom has just a wonderful memory, and it really is of the first time you saw Pop and the boys. Would you just share that, Mom? You were introduced to Pop. You told me you were in Ischia and you saw something. You saw a handsome man and 3 beautiful young boys in matching, you tell us, matching shirts?
Oh yeah, so
What do you remember?
they paraded down the street. We said they had a border collie. So Jim had on a little sail cap, and the boys all had, I don't know if you remember, striped shirt, white yeah. And I sat there with my mom drinking a cappuccino. I said, isn't that cute? It must be Americans, look at their fathers. Walking down the street. And then I was surprised that at that luncheon there, I saw that same man.